What's going on, traders? Want to do a quick recap of the S&P 500 today, SPY, February 7th. Today we started off relatively quiet in the morning session, a lot of consolidation, and we'll get into that with a huge push later in the day, higher after Powell speaking. A lot of volatility up and down, as we will get into. One thing I do want to mention here, we still are overbought. Now, when we're watching this overbought reading we have on the Momo, now, of course, this can stay overbought, but I do like to note it, of course, because, we don't take a trade just based on one indicator or one factor, but it is a piece of the puzzle that we like to keep an eye on to formulate possible trades. So just something that we should be aware of, and we are seeing a little bit of weakness come into that as far as the momentum is concerned. Real quick, okay, if you guys are enjoying the content, like, subscribe, comment below if you have any dissenting opinions or whatever. I will comment. Love to see them, love to read them. All right, so let's get into the price action a little bit more, or what we saw today during the trading session. Let's go and all right, so in the morning we were chopping around, coming down, selling off a bit in pre-market, came down into this big 408 level. Now, yesterday we were talking about this gap here on the volume profile, and we were looking at that 408 all the way down to potentially 406 and change, 406.50. But I noticed, we were hanging in this area, and here I'm on the 30-minute chart. I'll expand in a little bit closer, but you can see here, not only that zone that we were watching, we were in this huge liquidity block here, a lot of buyers sitting in this area here. And we did take a long position in ESN and SPY calls around 9:45 today, and had a nice push up. Now, I didn't gamble with this move up. When Powell started speaking, I exited most of my position here up in this zone. I was really looking for that 410, which was a VOPC, to get tested, and I had a bit of a gap there as well. Some liquidity that needed to get itself worked out. So that was really my target, and where I was thinking the bulls were going to push up to. I believe that was 4120 or so on ES. Yeah, no doubt here, obviously, huge volatility as we came up. No, my computer's freezing. As we came up today, we had this sell side liquidity here sitting, and we had quite the reaction. I had mentioned in chat, I said, if I was feeling spicy, this is where I would short. I didn't think that we would get such an aggressive sell off. I thought maybe we would get halfway, or maybe 75% of a retracement, but did they come in and push it down? Now, when they came and pushed it down here, they broke that 408 liquidity grab here, fake break, sucked up all the shares, and then they did not look back. And it was funny, again, I mentioned in chat here when we had sold off, I said, well, if I was to go long, it would be, down here again. Now, I didn't take the trade. I didn't think that we would go all the way up here again, but I thought maybe we would get a 50% retracement. That would be normal, but I think a lot of traders, a lot of shorts got caught again in a potential bear flag, and they got pushed out and squeezed, and we saw that big move. So want to get in a little bit closer to the price action, what we could potentially look for tomorrow. And you can see here how we broke into under that 408 here, and they just sucked up all that liquidity and shot us up higher. So right now we still have the sell side liquidity up in this area here around 415. You saw a nice break into this again, the sell side sellers up here around 416 or so. but and then we came down, coming out, just consolidating on a little sideways action. If I was trading right now, I still would be considering the short against this liquidity, but yeah, that's just what I would be thinking. I do think overall that this gap will need to be satisfied at some point, and again, if we get there, certainly around in this area, I would be considering a long, like I said, around 406 and some change. And one other thing I wanted to point out before we can talk about some levels that we might come into tomorrow and potential targets. We were talking about this yesterday as well. We had drawn out that potential reversal pattern on that descending wedge. I did it pretty sloppy there, but you get the idea. And so I was watching that as well. I think in pre-market, we did break over it. Well, we did break over it temporarily, or at least we tried to, and then we came back down again into this liquidity zone that we had here before. And you can see also too the reactions that we had from yesterday as well in this zone. But in any case, we were watching that, and I did mention that the target here, if we did break to the upside, was around that 415 area. That's what I was thinking. Likely we got a little bit more than that, and I did not participate after I hit the long trade. During this, I didn't really have too much interest in getting involved in the market, even though I was talking about the potential long down here. I thought that, like I said, maybe we can get a little scalp out of it, since we had really come back into this range. But yeah, again, I have to mention here, as far as looking forward tomorrow, it seems like there's some liquidity up here that might need to get worked out. So maybe we see a test near 417, and maybe even 418. But I do still think that we need to pull back some in either in Globex or tomorrow before making any type of move. The bulls are still clearly in control overall in the market. So let's just get into some potential areas here that we could see. Okay, that's not right. Okay. So yeah, let's look right here. We have some areas of interest that I would be interested in potentially picking up some longs if we do see some sell side tomorrow. Now, I'm not sure what we're going to get. I have to note that I believe every Fed speaker, at least 75% of them, I think, are speaking at some point tomorrow. So we could see some volatility. At least, I'm not really sure that we're going to see any of the other Fed speakers kind of contradict Powell. Of course, they do have their own opinions, but Powell today in his speech really reiterated kind of everything he said during his last meeting at FOMC, and he didn't have any type of change as far as the hawkishness in what he was saying. He just kind of reiterated his own points and said the same script. So I don't expect really a change in tone from any of the speakers, but you never know what could happen. So we do need to be aware of the speaker schedule tomorrow, because that could bring some volatility, but it might not. So yeah, like I said, I do still think that we are going to come down and test in this zone at some point, maybe this week, maybe next week, but I think that's a likely possibility, and it's healthy. Price action to cool off. We've had hell of a run. We are still in a bit of a consolidation move, even though today I think ES moved about 70 points or 80 points even, and on SPY 407 to 416. I mean, $5, $6, $7, in SPY. Incredible opportunities up and down today, if you were able to take advantage of them. But yeah, if we do sell down, some areas here, I'd be looking at 413 to around 412, maybe 65, 70. There's some, buy side liquidity here that we could potentially take a trade off of, as well as a 411. 460, 411.60, 411.40, another area, a weaker zone down here by 408, but that's something to note as well. But these two I'd be a little bit more interested in. And as far as the targets, I would probably look to be coming right back into this zone again. If I took this at 412, 413, I'd probably be targeting back up to that 414, 80, maybe 415 range. If we got over again, I'd be looking to retest these highs again potentially. And just the inverse here, if we come down to this area around in the 411.40 area, and I'd be looking again to trade maybe up against 415, but it's only $1, so we'll have to see, or $2 depending on when you get in. It could be a little scalp. I mean, yeah, on ES that might be a bit of a better range that you could take advantage of. On options, if you're playing a few days out, maybe 15-20%, but still a nice trade nevertheless, and totally doable trade. So yeah, I'm not sure really what to expect tomorrow with the Fed speakers. Again, I don't really think that they're going to change the narrative, but just some things I am looking at. And like I said, bulls overall are still in control. I do think a pullback would be nice, just to cool off still. So we could go higher, even down to 395.50, I believe, which is VOPC on the daily. That would be fine for me as well to consider a potential dip buy zone. But one other thing I did want to mention that we were looking at yesterday, besides that descending wedge, we were talking about that nice divergence that we were seeing in the Momo. That would, kind of indicate to me that regardless of whether or not Powell was speaking today, the move was likely higher, especially sitting in all that buy side liquidity, and the fake breaks that we saw in the morning, sucking up people's stop losses and then ripping it the other way. Everybody, I'm sure, was probably thinking short down here as we sold off. Markets weren't looking too hot, and then they got trapped and went totally the other direction. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's see what we get tomorrow. Could still be more consolidation. We could have, maybe even pop up higher, and then we turn around midday and sell off some. It's totally possible that even we could come back down to retest down here around 410, and which I certainly would consider buying anywhere here around that 410 and some 25, and like I said, all this area down to 408. So that would be fine as well. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. We have some definite zones that we're going to be watching and seeing what the market will present for us. Yeah, guys, so all right, I hope you enjoyed and have a good rest of your evening.